folks. Welcome to another edition of No BS Reactions coming at you from Prog Wards. I am Super Dave. Thank you for joining me as we try to expand our boundaries a little bit, or as in this case, what I'm doing is a week of reactions to cover songs. Had some stuff collecting dust on my list that I wanted to get around to listening to, and a few things that came out new that I wanted to check out. I enjoy a cover song very much. Matter of fact, I'm not, one of those people that's so completely wed to the original that I can't enjoy something with something that somebody does new, when somebody does something different. I can love those as well. I even found things to enjoy in the Far Corporation cover of Stairway to Heaven, which some people consider to be blasphemy. This is me, open-minded, not chained to the past. That's why I'm always looking for something new. That's why I enjoy expanding my boundaries and finding out new things that I don't know. In this case, though, we're talking about listening to covers of songs that I love. So that means the bar is set, one, a little bit higher for the people that are doing the cover, because this is not a song I'm not familiar with. This is not something that these are songs that I love. That's why I'm listening to these covers. Two, my expectation is such that I expect you to bring something new to the table, something different compared to what the original was. Please don't just give me a note for note cover of the song. Don't just redo it so that it basically sounds like the original, because otherwise you're going to bore me. Plain and simple. It will bore me. Well, I appreciate that you can do the originals, do your cover so that it sounds like the original. In a lot of cases, yes. That's great that you are able to replicate the activities of the typical local bar cover band. Not to denigrate cover bands. Just saying, I don't need you to redo the original. What I'm asking you to do, especially if you are a fairly well-known, big-name performer, is bring something different. Bring something unique, unusual, something of yourself to the cover to make it worth listening to in addition to the original. And if you really do really, really well, you might come up with a way to make it better than the original. That's a rarity. People have done it, though. People have taken over ownership of the original. Jimi Hendrix doing All Along the Watchtower. Anybody know or care that Bob Dylan wrote the damn song? No, because, and here's my rule of thumb, anybody covers Bob Dylan songs better than Bob Dylan does. Sorry, Bob. Dude, you know it's true. Don't argue with me. It's true. Or Johnny Cash covering Hurt by Nine Inch Nails. Both great versions. And Johnny did a special kind of twist on it that really made it very personal for him and almost kind of took ownership of it. Matter of fact, I've heard it said by Trent Reznor that Johnny Cash owns that song now, or at least he did. Maybe it reverted back to Trent Reznor when Johnny passed away. I don't know. That probably was inappropriate, wasn't it? Anyway, I need something different. I need you to wow me a little bit, but I need you to be respectful of the original source material. Don't just piss on it because you want to do what you want to do. Got to all have a little something in there, something that's interesting, something different that just makes me go, whoa, and makes me go, you know what? I'd like this in my collection right next to the original. That's my criteria for judging these things. So, interestingly enough, by coincidence, I am doing a twofer on this one. We are doing Double Brain Damage, my nickname in high school. No. Double Brain Damage listens by two different artists, because one was already there and I went to check it out, and both of them are fairly new, and then the other one popped up and I went, all right, you know what? I see a theme here. I'm going to go do it. Also, and I'm sure both of them had something to do with the fact that last year was the 50th anniversary year of Dark Side of the Moon. So for those not familiar, Brain Damage, sometimes accompanied with Eclipse, are both from the same album, Dark Side of the Moon. But also because one of the earlier videos I did was a reaction to Roger Waters, original founding member of Pink Floyd, one of the primary songwriters, especially lyrics, of their music, who decided the world needed a redux of Dark Side of the Moon on its 50th anniversary, done by him. I wasn't appreciative. We'll just say that. So, I am now curious what two other people, not original members of Pink Floyd, would do with the music from Dark Side of the Moon. Does it suck? Does it honor the memory? Does it do something different? We're going to find out. Before we do that, quick reminder, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Subscribe is great. You can follow along on my adventures in the world of Prog world, in the Progosphere, as I like to call it. 2, social media. If you want to follow along, my links are in the description below. Also, if you want to check out my all-progressive rock and metal station, The Expanse, it's on Live 365. There is a convenient link below, but you can also search it through the Live 365 app. So, two artists doing brain damage. First one, part 1, would be the infamous Puddles Pity Party. If you're not familiar with Puddles Pity Party, I'm not going to describe it because you're just going to see it now and become familiar with the infamy that is Puddles Pity Party. And he is covering Brain Damage with Eclipse right now. We're going to check it out. So, buckle up. If you're afraid of clowns, you might want to look away.
I don't want to go into the sun if I can avoid it.
That's right, Jim. All right, let it
Sit like that and walk around it.
Houston, how does that feel if you're going to be pick up the Mesa far away?
The lunatic is on the grass. The lunatic is on the grass. Remembering games and daisy chains and laughs. Got to keep the loonies on the path. The lunatic is in the hall. The lunatics are in my hall. The paper holds their folded faces to the floor. And every day the paper boy brings more.
Noting one of my all-time favorite lyrical passages right there. The newspaper holds their folded faces to the floor, and every day the paperboy brings more. Beautiful imagery. Amazing.
And if the dam breaks open many years too soon, and if there is no room upon the hill, and if your head explodes with dark forebodings too, I'll see you on the dark side. you feel, and all that you love, and all that you hate, all you distrust, all you save, and all that you give, and all that you deal, and all that you buy, beg, borrow, or steal, and all you create, and all you destroy, and all that you do, and all that you say, and all that you eat, and everyone you meet, and all that you slight, and everyone you fight, and all that is now, and all that is gone, and all that's to come, and everything under the sun is in tune, but the sun is eclipsed by the moon.
All right. So, first one of the two. Share some thoughts on that real quickly here. So, it's a pretty cool version. Honestly, it falls under that category of respectful. You're not going to mistake it for the original, but he didn't deviate a lot from really the overall composition, not competition, Dave. Composition of the original song. The arrangement was, at least to my ear, essentially the same, with the exception I did enjoy his little bluesy flourishes that were here and there in various parts of the song. That da-na-na-na-na was pretty cool. I did enjoy that a bit. It was a nice little additional thing. His voice obviously is different. He did not have female backing vocalists such as they had on the original album, so I kind of missed that a little bit. He did make up for it a little in some spots there where he was backing himself and doing some wordless vocalizing along with himself, and the kind of cool little editing effect that went along with that I thought kind of added a nice little touch to the video portion. I think the video was amusing and I think maybe that was more the point with him than anything else. I don't think he wanted to do something wacky with it. I think he wanted to do something respectful, put his own little touches to it. But mostly adhering to the original, but his facial expressions are amazing. that cracked me up. That part I enjoyed. So that's what made the video worthwhile in a certain sense. So the song by itself, without the video, you lose that component, you lose that little aspect of it. Probably just as soon listen to the original, given the minor changes he made. But it certainly wasn't a bad version. It certainly did only a little bit new, definitely was respectful, and did it give me a reason to listen to it instead of or in addition to the original? Not really. Did it give me any reasons to expressly not listen? Not really. So, in that sense, as much as I enjoy Puddles Pity Party, I don't think as far as covers go that this one was really wowing me all that much. It was fine. It was cool. And, it probably is not one that's going to stick around incredibly long or really sink into my memory. The video was amusing. The song was well covered, well played. So, sorry, Puddles, not wowing me. So, moving on to the second one. And this is a gentleman not even as well known as Puddles Pity Party. Let's try to say that 3 times fast. Leon Alvarado is his name. Now, he's a guy who has largely, I think, been a session musician, and he does some solo stuff of his own, but his first album didn't come out until the late 2000s. I forgot. I just looked at it and already forgot what year it was, but he's been around, and he's played with a lot of big names out there. I won't even try to list them all because I've forgotten half of them. They'll come up. Tony Levin comes to mind, Tony Franklin, everybody named Tony. But he's a session musician, clearly, and he's had some connections and he's played some stuff. And he did release an album of Genesis covers that really got some good attention. And I've listened to the B-side of this, which is what got my attention with him. And that the B-side came up, came to my attention. I gave it a listen. It was this nice, cool proggy, psychedelic kind of instrumental called The Dance of the Pink Elephants, an ode to overconsumption of alcohol to the point of hallucinating. For those of you not old enough to recall, pink elephants in the cartoons were always the things seen by those who were really drunk. That's how you knew for sure the character was very seriously drunk and probably in need of a visit to the local emergency room for alcohol poisoning. Yeah, don't do that, kids. So, pretty cool little tune. It intrigued me enough. And when I realized that it was the B side, basically, or the flip side, or paired with, whatever you want to call it these days when it's digital and there are no sides, brain damage. So I decided, let's double this up with Puddles Pity Party and see what Leon Alvarado brings to the table for this. He did it specifically in acknowledgement of the 50th anniversary of the album. He definitely has serious prog roots and prog creds, so certainly I can imagine that being a big year for him in terms of the historical significance in the world of progressive rock. Only the biggest progressive rock album of all time, among the biggest albums of all time, period. So, kind of a big thing. So let's give a listen here to Leon Alvarado's version of Brain Damage without Eclipse. It might include it and they just didn't list it. We'll find out. We'll find out together. It looks too short though. So we'll see what he did with it. Buckle up once again. Pausing a moment at this particular moment, it somewhat puts me in mind of another Pink Floyd song. Most of you who are watching this might be familiar with it. Not all of you are, but and now I will suddenly blank on this song. I wanted to say, why? Wish You Were Here. Thank you. There we go. I suddenly lost it. I had to hear it in my head for a moment there. So pardon the pause in dead air. All right. So anyway, it puts me in mind of the beginning of Wish You Were Here. So with the ambient sounds and the radio tuning and the kind of distant music playing, just what I'm thinking of. I have no idea if that's what he meant to evoke, or that's a callback to that while he's doing this. Don't know. Just felt I needed to talk about that and give myself a moment to be embarrassingly short of memory. Back to the music. Gotta be smoking doobie.
Swirls the dark for burning perfume. I'll see you on the dark side of the moon.
Interesting. So this one also strikes me as a very true to the original cover in most ways. One, he brings in the very high-pitched guitar. I am not even sure what to call them in this particular. I don't want to say riffs because it's just one note, but the very high-pitched ones that are intertwined in the first verse and the beginning of the song that Puddles left out. He also, whereas Puddles went with piano in place of the Hammond organ, at least it sounds like a Hammond to me, he seems like he's brought that sound back, whether it's an actual Hammond or simply a synthesizer doing that sound, I don't know. So in this sense, it's actually more true to it. Now, to me, there is a slightly higher tempo going on here. Just a smidgen, just enough to be noticeable. I don't know if anybody else is sensing that as well, but I feel like it's just ever so slightly faster. And looking at the run time of the song, I'm thinking it probably is. Not a lot, but enough to be noticeable, a little bit faster. Also, there's a slight clipped inflection to his voice as he sings that somehow is, I don't know if I would say it's distracting me or it's grabbing my attention. Yeah, but just I actually left wondering. Alvarado is, a Spanish surname, and so therefore wondering, does he perhaps is English a second language for him? And I'm picking up a little bit of accent in the singing. That's a possibility, or it's a stylistic choice. I don't know. I don't know enough about Leon Alvarado to know whether he's got an accent or not. So something is standing out there a little bit, but it is, again, very spot on, very true to the original, other than that slight uptick in the tempo. And, of course, the lack of the female backing vocalist, in which case he's kind of covering that with a little bit added layer of organ / synth or whatever. But it all sounds cool. It sounds very respectful of the original thing. Very cool. And just not entirely very different at the same time either. So my expectations, again, may have been a little bit high as to how different to expect these things to be. So we'll see what else he does with it. So let's get back to the music.
Lunatic is in my head. Lunatic is in my head.
You raised the blade. You made the change. You rearrange me till I'm sane. You lock the door, throw away the key. There's someone in my head, but it's not me. And if the cloud bursts, thunder in your ear, you shout out, no one seems to hear. And if the band you're in starts playing different tune, I'll see you on the dark side of the moon.
He's absolutely bonkers.
No eclipse. We were wondering about that. Didn't think there was time for Eclipse and all of that as well. Okay, so now we have heard two versions back to back. And it's interesting now, to my mind, to compare and contrast. Now, first, I'll continue talking about Leon Alvarado's version. I think it stayed very much in the vein, very much in the lane he started in, that it was very much true to the original, if maybe slightly faster in pace, and maybe somewhat noticeable, maybe an accent or a certain way he was singing that highlighted the syllables a little bit differently and emphasized certain syllables differently than the original. Not a big deal, really, just something more of an observation than anything else. But overall, he stayed really, really true, even to the point of including very, not the original certainly, but very similar laughing sound effects woven into the song at the places the original would have. So very respectful, very well done, covered it perfectly fine. But what it did, interestingly enough, by the time we got done, is having not listened to the original for a while, I didn't pick up on the deviations and the differences within Puddles' version until I heard this one and remembered the things that he didn't do. Interesting how that moment can change that. This one was, to me, so true to the original. It's like I listened to the original back to back with Puddles. So it highlighted where Puddles, took some chances more so than Leon did. Leon, again, followed the template almost identically. Not much difference. Not even, in my mind, less reason to pull this one out instead of the original than Puddles. Now I look back, and Puddles, okay, we took out some of the synthesizer sounds that were in there. He replaced some of those with the musical break with vocalizations, the wordless vocals I mentioned. He eliminated the high-pitched guitar plucks, tweets, I don't know what the word is for that. Guitarists out there, I'm sure what. I don't have a word to describe that without making the sound myself. He took those things out. He added those couple of bluesy flourishes in the song. And in that sense, he did make it more his own than Leon did. Puddles was more successful in taking chances with the original source material than Leon did. So in that sense, if I were to walk away from these reactions, picking one of these, I'm picking Puddles, to be perfectly honest. I'm picking Puddles. It stood out to me as more different than the original, more his own than Leon's did. If I were to say, walk away from this putting either one of these in a playlist, probably not. As much as I notice now that Puddles deviated from the original song, he did so not to a degree that I would say wowed me enough to say, ooh, I want to throw it on there. But in the end, if I were to say, hey, of the two guys who I think were more successful in creating a cover that was original and different and, at the same time respectful of the original, it's Puddles. I've not listened to Roger Waters' version of this song on his redux of Dark Side of the Moon. I'm not going to. I had enough with time. Thank you. I don't want to go there. But at least in comparing these three songs that I have heard, this is where I would say, okay, Roger, I gave you some crap about, wow, after 50 years, this is what you come up with. I still don't like it. But I will still say that you took more chances with the material than they did. You made it more your own, because everything's got to be your own. Yes, taking back a criticism and then still leveling another one. But you did more with it than they did. You did something more original with it than they did. So in that sense, I might back off of Roger's case just a little bit. Still don't like him. Still think his redux was pointless and largely generated by his narcissistic need to take the album away from the rest of the members and claim it as his own. So in that sense, even though he did something original with it, his motivating factor for doing something original with it was pretty shitty. So I'm not giving you kudos, Roger. But I am going to back off the criticism ever so slightly. You took more chances. You did something more original with your own music than these guys did with it. But granted, I didn't hear your version of Brain Damage, and if I swear to God, if I played it and it was the same damn thing as the original, I would breathe. Anyway, this is all I'm saying. I'm not going to look at you and go, this is what you should have done. It is not. I am not going to look at what you did and listen to it and tell you that's what you should have done. It was not. Definitely not for the reasons I think you did it. But that's my thoughts on this. Puddles, congrats. You win this battle of the bands in this particular case. It wasn't really what I meant it to be, but it was something that in the moment I thought to compare and contrast. So I'm curious what the rest of you think. What do you prefer? Do you prefer Leon's very true to the original version? Or do you like the flourishes and the little bits that Puddles added to his version and the little changes he made there? Sans videos, because obviously Leon's wasn't a video per se. But what do you like better? What do you like in your cover songs? What did you think of Roger Waters? I know some people weren't happy with me pissing on his version, and I get it. I know there are some people that love what he did with it. I don't get it. But I'm just saying that I understand everybody's got different tastes. This is a very subjective thing we're talking about here. I am just sharing my opinion. I'm not saying there's a right or wrong, but I am saying there's a way I like to see people do things. So what do you think? Leave a comment. Let me know what your thoughts are. And hey, let's have a conversation about it. It's all cool. It's what's fun about doing these. So that's all I've got for you for now. Just reminding you, never fear to deviate from the norm. Keep it proggy. And this is Super Dave, signing off.